What if I ask you this? After Navalny, now what? What would you say?
Navalny believed, right or wrong, that the Russian politician must fight in Russia. He paid the highest price for this belief.
After Navalny, opposition figures abroad find themselves at a pivotal moment.
Thank you very much.
We reached out to some of them to ask, how do you unseat Putin and dismantle his regime? Our first stop, of course, was Navalny's network in exile, still intact in Lithuania.
Я буду продолжать дело Алексея Навального, продолжать бороться за нашу с вами страну, и я призываю вас встать рядом со мной.
His wife, Yulia Navalnaya, seems to be taking up the mantle. But a Navalny advisor declined an interview, telling us the hole in their heart is bleeding. Also operating in relative safety abroad is a still disunited array of groups, politicians, and social media influencers. Among the best known is longtime activist Garry Kasparov. Kasparov has been fighting for a democratic Russia for decades, first making his mark as a combative world chess champion, a player who wasn't accustomed to losing. He moved on to become a political activist and was once briefly even a Russian presidential candidate.
We see clear and present danger for current constitution, for our democratic rights.
Then, sensing that danger and a stalemate, he left Putin's Russia just over a decade ago. Speaking with us in Washington just days after Navalny died, Kasparov was not surprised that the Russian opposition's most consequential figure, a man he'd known since the 90s, was no longer.
So beyond losing an opposition figure, a very well-known one, what is it that Russia and Russians lost with the loss of Navalny?
The Russia got a martyr. That's very clear. It's like a saga. It's a legend. You know, you have a hero who just decided to make this huge sacrifice. That's how the human history was written. That's how we got things change.
Navalny was a kind of hope and a kind of example that you can try to fight this system, the systems that don't value human life. You can fight it with a smile on your face.
Maxim Katz is an independent Russian politician, convicted in absentia of spreading fake news about the Russian military, sentenced to 8 years in prison. By then, Katz had already left Russia with his family to Israel. There, he hosts a YouTube channel aimed at Russians with more than 2 million subscribers.
Свою аудиторию, которая меня смотрит каждый день.
Katz is known for having clashed with other opposition figures over his quest to create a united coalition ahead of the election.
Так не надо ли всем в нее вдарить, в эту точку уязвимости?
An idea not universally embraced.
Even Navalny himself tweeted, I'll be direct, go to hell with your coalition.
Well, Navalny didn't like coalitions. He liked to be a leader, and I respect this. However, I tried always to say him and his team that now this is the time to make a coalition. In my opinion, every moment that the opposition is not come together is a missed opportunity. In my opinion, is long time before we had to sit in one table, exchange our views on things, come to a position and go as a political group forward.
With each conversation, we start to understand there is no single playbook, no single strategy on some of the biggest questions for the opposition abroad, like how to gain influence among Russians on the inside. With Russia's media dominated by the state, Katz is convinced social media is key to normalizing real open debate and criticism of Putin and his war.
What is the role that must be played by people in the opposition who are active outside of Russia?
The main role, in my opinion, is to keep the normal conversation in place and show that a normal way of living in Russia is possible, that challenge Putin's position, that offer different political approach to Russia. And when they hear that this thing is existing, they still have the hope and the understanding that at some point it can come back.
I want to get a sense from you of what you think of ideas like those of Maxim Katz, for example, who says that everyone in the opposition should get together and unite and bombard Russia with messages on every social media channel to let people know that there's a strong opposition on the outside. What do you make of that kind of idea?
Nonsense, absolutely. No. Okay, it's wishful thinking. Just imagine, and I'm a pretty good speaker. We can have Maxim Katz or even Navalny if he was, by miracle, he was alive. 1 hour prime time on Russian television would achieve nothing. People are just, they're pragmatic. They say, oh yeah, this is guys from they're trying to tell us what's right, what's wrong from London, from New York, from Prague, from Madrid. No, we're here. The only way to move the needle of public opinion is Ukrainian success. Putin losing the war, that's our chance, because Russians could tolerate any hardship if the war is going well. They never forgave their leaders for losing the war.
Kasparov tells us Russians abroad must become the architects of the post-Putin future, that Western countries should make it easier for Putin's critics to leave and build a new Russia on the outside.
We need a matrix of future Russia built outside of Russia. This is the way to move forward. It's a leadership that will attract people to leave Russia. They are people involved in military industry by designing missiles, drones, doing finances. This is the core of Putin's war machine. He can evade sanctions. He can find, supply from Iran, China, North Korea. He cannot replace even 100,000 engineers and computer experts. So give them a chance to leave.
In the absence of credible elections, it would be an opportunity for dissenting Russians to vote with their feet. Katz believes the key is persuading Russians to dissent in the first place. What is it going to take to dismantle Putin's leadership and his regime?
We need to convince the Russian people. We need to convince the Russian people that his leadership is not good for us. This is the only way. Putin never ruled in Russia without the support of at least 50% of Russians. And this was a feeling. Everybody feel in Russia that he has the support. And if we will break this feeling, then everything will change. I think this is the effort. We need to put our effort here. And I try to do it.
I think it is a sign that they're afraid. Because if you are not afraid of anything, then you don't kill a person who spent his past years in a dark cell. So if they're afraid, then probably there is a weakness that maybe we don't see, but that they feel.
Sergey Lagodinsky left Russia for Germany as a child. Now he's a German member of the European Parliament who once tried to persuade other European lawmakers to press for Navalny's release. A young Lagodinsky met Navalny when both were World Fellows at Yale in 2010. From Berlin, he told us his role now, the role of the West, is to support Russian opposition waiting abroad.
Something that Germany is doing, introducing humanitarian visa that allow people to come to Germany if they are threatened, and very many people are threatened, making it easier that people have those visas while they're active in Russia, so that they know that they can escape at the moment when the police is knocking at their doors.
Those who are in the diaspora. Can you speak about it in terms of unification? It has tended to be fairly divided.
It might be a chance for awakening and for uniting among different opposition forces. But if we are talking about political pluralism in Europe, and about the assets of political pluralism, then we have to respect the plurality of opposition voices from Russia.
Even without him, Navalny's organization is still best positioned to rally the disparate groups in pursuit of Navalny's beautiful Russia of the future. Even with their differences, there's enough common ground to suggest it is possible.
So it seems to me our positions are getting closer, and I believe that Navalny's death would be a catalyst to bring people together. You can sense history. And also, yeah, there's so much blood been spilled, but this is, this cold-blooded murder, it's in public. I think it's a lot of people recognize that might be a turning point. I think this murder may be the last drop for them.
In other words, the hope is that, dark as this moment is, it may well be how the Russia of the future begins.